What do you think of when you think of harassment or abuse? Abuse and harassment are very serious things and should not be taken lightly or said lightly. Do you think that harassment or abuse is possible within video games from gameplay alone? I have an answer for that, but that's what today's video is going to be about. A YouTuber and streamer known as That One Guy D had played against an individual who I will be blurring their name out as well as I can. I'm going to call him Bob because that's easier. We're just going to call him Bob. His VOD and Twitter and everything else is out there, so you'll find him if you really want. I really am stressing that we are not going to go and talk to this person or mention anything about the content of this to that person. We are only here to use their behavior as an example. The way the story goes is That One Guy D plays against Bob. Bob was live on Twitch. And That One Guy D is making a YouTube video himself. That video is now live. It's called Scaring Twitch Streamers with Blight. In this video, he plays this very interesting Blight build against various Twitch streamers, many of which have positive reactions. They think it's very interesting and things like that.
It's a fun Blight who's just trying to do fun things and have a good time and not just absolutely dominate us. I mean, they're looking to dominate us, but they're looking to dominate us spookily. And I find that fun.
But Bob is very dissatisfied with this build. We're going to go through the video. So first, I think we need to talk about the build. For Blight, this is a very weird, different build, but that's what he's going for here. Between all the perks and add-ons, he's basically going for a being undetectable / making survivors oblivious. And then with the green add-on he had on, he can see survivors through walls when he bounces next to them. The downside of this build is he's sending himself to a map that's tough to play on as Blight, and he doesn't have anything to necessarily defend gens with. Again, he plays against all kinds of streamers in his video, and a lot of them were very positive and thought the build was interesting. But when he plays against Bob, here's how that game goes.
And he abuses his latency. Yep. And he chose Larry, so we're just not going to give him anything. Nope, we're not going to give him that. We're just going to DC. I'm not going to stay in a match with a Blight that plays that way and brought us to Larry's just to be an asshole. So no.
So he gets found. He's about to be the second hook of the whole game. Jane got hooked. He was about to be next. And he DCs, super frustrated with the fact that he was sent to Larry's by the killer, and says that he's running this trash build and all these other things. Basically, he's doomed his team to die now that he's disconnected, but we'll just remember that for later. And instead of just disconnecting and moving on to another match, he stays and watches the entire match and makes comments about D, the killer, the entire time. Oh, and he also reports him, I guess.
If the killer's gonna choose the map and they're gonna play like that, then no, I'm not gonna stand for it. I'm not gonna give him more. Like, during a Halloween event, the killer wants to choose the map and be stinky and scummy, then we'll just DC and fuck him. Like, but killers manage to just basically be toxic pieces of shit, playing full scummy sweaty build when he doesn't have to.
Game's over. He's typing a message already. D says, weird DC, but okay, G-Jules, which is what D says. He says that instead of GG. Have a great night. And Bob says, no reason to bring in a sweaty, scummy human trash build during a Halloween event, bud. That One Guy D says, how is that build scummy? And Bob says, but TY for the VOD evidence to get you banned for it. He's trying to get That One Guy D banned for running perks and add-ons in the video game. Perks and add-ons in a map that are far less sweaty than 99% of killers out there. I realize that's subjective, but this is my first time ever watching Bob's VOD, but in the next few hours in the VOD, he DCs and says things like this to killers nearly every match. Like DCs and says that he's robbing the killer of blood points because they're playing scummy and that they're human trash and all this stuff. and all of them are just playing the video game. Like some people are sweatier than others, but they're all just playing the video game too. Now that you have like some context for what happened in Dead by Daylight, this is kind of where things start to become bigger. D takes this endgame chat and posts it to Twitter, and basically calls him out for his behavior because he's not being very nice in in-game chat to him, and it blows up from there. D says he's doing a Scratch Mirror Blight video trying to scare Twitch streamers. This is the response: since when is bringing Blight to Larry sweaty? This is a sweaty build. Rotated hooks, played it fair per usual. What did I do wrong here? He's got the build in the screenshot, the DC in the screenshot, and then all of the scummy human trash VOD evidence getting banned. All that nonsense in there. This post reaches a lot of people. There's 12 retweets, 12 quote retweets, and over 500 likes. Remember at the beginning of the video when I asked you how you felt about the words abuse and harassment and why I brought it up in the first place? This is where Bob takes a really big left turn and surprises everybody with his choices of words. Bob says, imagine basing your content solely on build/gameplay aimed to frustrate or bully your opponents. Then imagine posting that content to your viewers/community, knowing that it could lead to those opponents being bullied/harassed on other platforms. How is that not toxic? 1 week later, he writes, I now have evidence of someone literally cyberbullying me and using that content to promote even more content of cyberbullying, as well as content from my own channel without my consent. How is this person seen as the good guy? This isn't even the worst of it yet, but we got to talk about this part first. He says, imagine basing your content solely on builds to frustrate your opponents. He wasn't trying to frustrate you. He was just trying to do like a jump scare build that's like different than what you normally see. Like if you watch D's video, many of those streamers thought it was interesting or at least very different from what they normally play against. You were the single person who was extremely volatile when playing against his build, and you only played against his build for like 30 seconds before you DC'd. So I think that's a very subjective thing you said. He did not aim to frustrate you. You chose to be frustrated over his build in the game, and now you're trying to frame this into your narrative. With that being said, because you chose to react that way, you're responsible for your own actions. You being frustrated over his build and saying all these awful things is not his fault. You are responsible for your actions, whether you like it or not. And then in the second tweet, he says, as well as using content from my own channel without my consent. How is this person seen as a good guy? He's allowed to use your content from your Twitch stream because he's transformed it and used it towards a larger piece of content. That's called fair use, and you see it all the time in many, many videos featuring like other Twitch streamers. Sometimes they're asked, sometimes they're not to, but as long as it's transformative, it's well within his right to use your content. Now, here's the part that I have a problem with. Nearly 2 weeks later, he writes a 17 tweet long thread about D and everything that happened, and he has some choice words, so we're going to go into. I will no longer be silent about this event, as all it has done is allow my abuser to continue and profit simply for having a larger following and appear as the positive good guy. A couple of weeks ago, I was having a horrible mental health day. Work went well enough for the new job I had just started several weeks prior. Nothing major occurred that broke down my mental health. However, as most work days go, it did physically exhaust me. This was one of my regularly scheduled streaming days. I had every intention to stream, even though I knew I was physically exhausted and my mental health was dwelling on some IRL situations. I shouldn't have pushed that go live button, but I did. After going live, I decided to play Dead by Daylight. I have enjoyed playing DVD for years, although over the last 2 years, I've come to realize that the game has degraded into who can upset the other side more. I still try to play fair, fun games, but had become less tolerant of those who don't look for similar matches. While playing, I ended up getting into a lobby against another TTV streamer by the name of That One Guy D. He was recording matches running what he calls Scratch Mirror Blight and using the reactions of other Twitch streamers for use in his own YouTube video. When I got into the trial and recognized that the build he was using, I did not feel like playing against it, so I DC'd when he eventually downed me for the first time. I then proceeded to watch the rest of the trial to see how the other survivors fared and reduce my DC penalty. As this was during the DVD Halloween event, I was upset by the fact that he still proceeded to kill the other survivors instead of allowing them to enjoy the event and everyone to get more blood points / rewards from it. In the endgame chat, I had said some very unnecessary words to That One Guy D, which I found out a little while later was screenshotted and posted to his Twitter feed. I take full accountability for what I said to him, as it wasn't something I should have said to anyone. I know it was due to my poor mental health state plus not wanting to face his Blight build during what is supposed to be a fun DVD event, but still shouldn't have said it. This posting of his screenshot on his Twitter feed led to several of his followers / community members coming into my chat during the next few DVD trials, leading to them spamming my chat and harassing me / trolling me against every opinion / statement I made. This, combined with my already poor mental health state, led to more DCs in the next 2 matches out of frustration and anger. I banned the chatters as soon as I saw what they were doing in my live stream chat. A few days later, I found that the Scratched Mirror Blight video had been posted by that one guy D on YouTube. Not only was it posted, but I found that he had clipped / recorded several statements from my Twitch VOD that night and used those clips of my content on his YouTube video without my consent. He never even bothered to message me asking if he could use it, which is a violation of both Twitch and YouTube policies. I've taken a step back for myself, looked at how I was viewing DVD and other games, and with help from several of my content creator friends, I've decided to view games for what they are, just games, and not let it affect my mental health any longer. However, I am not going to allow situations like this to be unheard. My content rights have been violated, my own Twitch channel has been violated by that one guy D and his community of followers that came in to harass me during that stream. On top of that, upon looking at that one guy D's channel, nearly all of his content is focused on builds that specifically bully / harass / upset the players he is going against. Then he uses their reactions as his own content for his videos. I honestly don't feel like this is in the lighter spirit of content creation one bit. Purposely going out of your own way to ruin somebody else's game / trial for your own content is not necessary and not mental health positivity. Thank you to anyone / everyone who reads this, as I really did need to get this out of my head and into writing, if even for my own mental health satisfaction and the ability to move on and help spread true positivity henceforth. Don't let others bully you into being quiet. At user I'm not going to mention, again, thank you for your post last night. It gave me the courage to write all of this and be able to get it out of my head and into writing. All right, so there's a lot to unpack there. That was a big thread written by Bob, and there's a couple things I'll give him some benefit of the doubt for, and then there's many things that he says that are wrong and things that do not sit with me, like regarding abuse and mental health, and I find it disgusting. Here's what I think you've done correctly. I think taking a step back and trying to view games for what they are is the correct play. It's a shame that it's taken all of this to realize that, but at least you have realized that. In realizing that, you should be able to reflect that this game was just a game. Like you said, games are just games, and they shouldn't affect your mental health. If they're reaching that point, it's time for a break. I mean, Dead by Daylight will always be there. If you take a break, it's going to be there when you come back from your break. And then the other part you got right, or half right, is you acknowledged what you said to D is wrong, and you shouldn't have said it in the first place. All the things you said in in-game chat about it being a scummy build and all this stuff. You admit that it was wrong, but in nowhere in those 17 tweets did you apologize, which that's why I'm only giving you half credit here. I mean, I'm not that I'm like a teacher or whatever, but I think an apology would have been the first step if you truly felt like you were wrong in that situation. All right, now it's time to talk about all the things that I disagree with or straight up find wrong and repulsive. One, you talk about how he's not allowed to use your Twitch VOD. Again, we said this earlier, he's perfectly allowed to use your Twitch VOD because it has been transformed. It's simply supplementary to a larger piece of content. It's completely fair use, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's something that you need to consider when you stream on Twitch, that maybe the way you react could become content and used as an example of how not to act. D is just capitalizing on that, and I think you should be using this as a reflective moment rather than a moment to become angry. Next, you decided to DC when you saw his build, and now you are perfectly entitled to DC in Dead by Daylight. That option is there for a reason, and you, by all means, do it if that's what you want to do. But once you DC, it is not the killer's responsibility or D's responsibility to be the fun director at that point. It's not D's fault you DC'd. You chose to leave the match. And you might not want to hear it, but you are the reason your teammates had a bad game, not that one guy D. He played nice as he could while still killing them. He didn't. Nobody was dead until everybody was dead on hook, which is about the nicest thing you can do while you're still killing them. And you know, and the other people still had a good time. You DCing, it was your own move, and you cannot push that blame onto D. Now, lastly, and the biggest issue I have with this entire situation and many others that have seen this also have the same issue. Abuse and mental health are not to be taken lightly. To answer my question at the beginning of the video, when I think of abuse and mental health issues, I think of something that's often outspoken, stuff that is, most people don't even talk about their abuse or their mental health issues because no one wants to listen or understand. And it's stuff that takes lots of treatment or people never recover from or get over in the first place. And for you to call that one guy D an abuser or a harasser due to his build in a game and then screenshotting your own toxic words devalues the voices of those that are going through true mental health issues or legitimate abuse, like things like sexual assault and things to that scale. That's what we think of when we think of abuse and mental health and harassment, not Dead by Daylight, not video games. It's extremely abhorrent for you to use words like that over this situation. Now, there's only one other thing we haven't covered, and that is that you state people from D's community had come into your stream to bully / troll / harass you. That would be a big deal if that were true. So to your benefit of the doubt, I had to look at your VOD from that day because you specifically said that stream. And from the point you DC'd to the end of your stream, which was several hours long, you only had 3 people come in that you didn't know and you banned. Only 2 of which of those 3 were from D's community, and I would make the argument that they were not harassing you. So let's take a look at those. In our first example, Sammy from D's community comes in and asks, how is he being scummy? And this is basically the vibe of all of her questions from here on before she gets banned. She's basically just asking, how is he scummy? What's he doing wrong? He's just playing the game. He's playing fair, etc., etc.
Well, Sammy, first, he's playing during a Halloween event, picking the map and playing the way he is. Considering he's Blight running Plaything, and I want to say Tinker because we didn't have his terror radius for I don't know how many times. No, he's playing full scummy sweaty build when he doesn't have to. There's no reason to do it. It's a scummy sweaty build where he also picked the map. No, Sammy, he probably only started rotating hooks because I DC'd on him for the way he was already being at the start. Alright, if you're literally just gonna sit here and troll me the entire time, then you can get out of my chat, Sammy.
In the second example, Cordal, who is also from D's community, comes in and makes a couple jokes about Joel and Pop. That's toxic, and basically kind of pokes fun at him for DCing frequently, which you'll see in his later messages. I don't really think that this is harassment or anything like that, but he's definitely trolling. Coming into the chat just to mess with the streamer is out of my taste, but I think it's far from harassment.
Yeah, exactly. Jolt and Pop. It is toxic. I would, but I don't want a longer timer. So I'll just use this as VOD evidence to get her banned. Aw, so you are being that kind of person. Well, you can get out of my chat, and thank you for the VOD evidence to get your Twitch account banned.
And for the last example of anyone I could find that disagreed with him and got banned was this person by the name of Aeon, who wasn't even from D's community. It was somebody that he played with. He was another survivor in the game. The killer was slugging for the 4K. Bob was arguing that this is holding the game hostage, and the other survivor was just trying to tell him that it's not holding the game hostage, which it's not. That's what the bleed out timer is for, but you'll see what happens.
Stop her 4K. Yep, there it is. Beautiful. Good luck next game, but it actually is. The fact that they're playing ass. I banned the ass. No, but that is a form. That is a form of taking the game hostage. And I've literally talked to several of the original behavior developers. All right. Yeah, and you can sit here and claim it isn't all you want, but I'm getting rid of you because I'm not going to be sitting and harassed and trolled in my own chat when I flat out have talked. I've literally got an open email chain with the devs where they say it is. Like, and I've given them my VOD evidence, and I've gotten multiple players permabanned from the game because that's the way they play, and that is a form of taking the game hostage.
Yeah, so in several hours of the VOD that remains after his disconnect against D, that's literally it, of like people that come in to talk or even disagree with him, like the last guy, and he bans them immediately. The one that came in to say that, you know, perks are toxic and I'd have DC'd too, that was the closest thing to being a troll, but he only got a couple words in and then he got banned, and that was the only experience of troll that you had. So I think D's community has done a great job of not coming in and bothering you, especially to this level that you state that they have. You acted like you've been harassed and bullied, like, to the world beyond. Bob, if you're watching this video, I hope that you've opened your eyes to some of the things that have happened and the things that you've said, and some of the things I'm trying to tell you now. I believe that you can be a better person than this, despite not really knowing you well. I believe that everybody can turn around. It just takes a little bit of reflection and admitting when you're wrong sometimes. Mental health and abuse and everything of that nature, again, for like the third time, is not to be taken lightly. And you should not be throwing the words around like that. You have not been a victim of abuse from that one guy, D. And D is not responsible for your mental health. Mental health is a big deal, and I fully respect if you have mental health issues, because, you know, a lot of us do. But it's not D's fault, and it's not the game's fault, and you need to be able to hold yourself accountable, whether your mental health is in a good or bad state. I think that's all I have. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a lesson, even if you're not Bob, about mental health and how we should behave when it comes to content creation and how we hold ourselves accountable within this realm of gaming. Thank you.